first off, as we talk about your lesson, what do you think went well with your lesson?
I think I saw a lot of the kids feeling like more confident and comfortable with the vocabulary than they did last time, because I think last time when they first got introduced to it, they like, some kids got it, but not all of them. Like this time I felt more confident, like more kids were getting.
They would use it more?
Yeah, they were using it more.
Okay, yeah, so I just went through and I just highlighted strengths and things like that, just kind of like we did last time. So I definitely saw that, like you said, the kids were really engaged. They were so excited to use the words. And I feel like that had a lot to do with that you gave it an observable outcome. So you said in the beginning that today your goal is to use the words. When I ask you a question, I want to see you using the word. And then you had like a little ticket, and I'm guessing you got a prize or something from it. So that seemed, they were like, oh, you could hear them be really excited. And they were really trying to use the words a lot more than the last time. So that was really good. And then you did say you tried to make better questions, so you did recasting a lot, which was really good. Instead of just repeating, you were saying whatever they said, but with the vocab words. So that was really good. What about, how did the ballot box go?
It went really well. They were like super excited. They loved getting to like put their vote in, and when I like revealed who had won, they were like so excited.
Yeah, how did they react to that?
They thought it was so cool, and they like making like predictions, like who do you think's gonna win, and like. It was funny because a lot of them were pretty spot on. Like, a lot of them really, I think they liked Grace, like, a little bit more, so they all pretty much voted for her. It was like, she won 16 votes and Duck had 4.
Oh, no. Did you talk about why some people voted for Grace?
Yeah. I think, like, a lot of them liked that she was, like, a kid. Like, I think they kind of were like, oh, well, she's kind of like us instead of, like, a duck.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I said that was another awesome thing. It was real world, and especially for the dual language learners, they're really getting a hands-on experience, and now they're going to have a memory to associate with ballot and with elections. So that was really, really good. And then the text-to-text connections, that's something we do in first grade, so that was really awesome. Is that something that you guys work on a lot, or just kind of in some of your comprehension lessons?
In some of ours, so like if we're working on some sort of content and there are books that go together, we usually do that. So like actually I'm going to keep going, but I have like a Venn diagram over there. I was hoping to get to that in this lesson, but it was like kind of enough already with balance. Like going forward, we're going to talk about like similarities and differences between the two stories and sorting things out.
Yeah, and I also noticed with that a lot of the kids were using the vocabulary. It just kind of went naturally because both books had the similar vocab, they were using it, and that was really good. Yeah, so basically today what we're going to talk about are 2 big questions that I saw a lot of good things and things, of course, as teachers we can always improve. So I want to talk about first that what do you think the effect of open or closed questions, what's the effect of that on student responses? Like, when you asked an open-ended question, what were their responses versus like a closed question, like a what, who, or one of those? What do you feel like?
I feel like when I give them the more open question, they are more likely to give me like a sentence like response. Whereas if it's closed, it's just kind of like they want to say just like one thing and that's it.
Like it leads to one answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So then, like, what level of thinking occurs with stems like why and how? What kind of thinking occurs when you ask why and how questions?
I think it's like definitely like a deeper thinking, because I think they're like going beyond, and maybe I know what it is, but like why is this happening or how, and like it really causes them to like kind of think deeper.
Yeah. So I noted a lot of your questions were open-ended. So you said you did repeating when you're trying to convince people to vote for you. That's what elections are. So you did repeating, which was really good. You also said, how would you describe the way Grace is feeling? And the kids were really excited about this one. And they really wanted, someone used the word furious, and then you had them elaborate. Well, why was she furious?
Yeah.
And the kids were able to answer and using their own words and things. So that was really engaging. I think you had a lot of kids participate. Then you asked, why did Grace's heart sink? And then they said, because she's worried. Well, why is she worried? So you asked a lot of good follow-up questions. And they all kind of started with why or how. But that was really good. And there was another one. What else did you do really good? Why would someone vote for Duck? And so I think it was that Olivia that said ducks can swim. You seemed a little bit like, I don't know what to say to her right now. And were the kids getting off task at that part?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So it was like kind of towards the end.
Yeah.
And they were like, ducks can swim, they can quack and stuff like that. And I probably should have like pushed them further, like, is that like an important thing for people to like vote based on? Like, is that somebody you want to be your president or your leader? Yeah.
Or how, maybe you could say like, how would being able to swim and quack help the class if they were our mascot or they were our leader? How would that help? So that'd be a good follow-up question. Yeah. And it starts with how and why.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you did a lot of the open-ended questions, and now it's just, as always, trying to improve, like beefing up the other ones. So like, for example, you said, what is it called when you vote for someone? And then it was hard because some of the kids were saying, well, you try to pick, or kind of choose person, and then it was hard because you were looking, like you said, for that one answer election.
Yeah.
So then it was sort of like, the kids weren't sure what to say. We didn't have as many kids participating with that one. So kind of going back to our target question, or like, what's another one? Did a lot in the beginning. What did he tell the animals he was going to do for them? And then you kind of rephrased it in his campaign. He said he would, and then you did recasting. So that was a really good reaction to it. And maybe we can go back and kind of work through those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of what we're going to do for the beginning. Is I went on Pinterest and I actually sent them to you.
I was going to say, I think I saw that you had sent me a pin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I sent you a couple pins with open-ended questions, but I wrote all of them here.
Cool.
So I'll just pull them up because they're more colorful on my phone. But I thought what we could do just for a little exercise so that when you take this further, because I know you said questioning is sort of like one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go through and when I find this, we can just change some of the questions that you asked into open-ended questions.
Great.
And then you have them. And then I have something else that I think you're going to like. Okay, so open-ended questions. So I sent you the pin, but just starting with these sentences or these questions might just help you ask the question. So let's start with the first one. What is it called when you vote for someone? Of course, we want them to say what? What's the vocab word you're looking for?
The election.
Election.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we want them to use. That was your objective. Okay, so we've got what would happen if, I wonder, tell me about. Which one of these do you feel like would be a good stem to use to get them to talk about how an election is when people vote? What can we do?
I feel like maybe tell me about would be good there. Like maybe like tell me about.
Tell me about voting?
Yeah, tell me about voting. Yeah.
And then what do you think a child would say?
I think they might say something like, "Oh, well, voting is where people are running in." Maybe they would say running in an election, and you have to choose or something like that.
Choosing one of the winner or the loser and things like that.
Yeah.
And so exactly. So we definitely got them to target the word election. Okay, let's do another one. This one, I looked back and you actually recasted it. So you said she's worried that when it's time to vote in the election, he won't have enough votes in the ballot box. And then I just put this question in. I think you might have said it. Who uses a ballot box? Let's say pretend. So you recasted someone's thought. But let's say you wanted them to know who uses a ballot box. What's a way that we could get them to use the word ballot box? Sort of they would use ballot box, campaign. I feel like election would also be in there.
Mm-hmm.
How can we change that one using one of those stems?
Maybe what would happen if people are using a ballot box, or what's going on when a ballot box is being used?
What would happen if people use the ballot box? And they might just be like, well, they're voting.
Yeah, that's true.
Tricky. What would happen if? Because I did hear you talking about it needs to be silent when you're voting.
Yeah.
And you don't want people to know it's private. What would happen if someone put in more votes? Maybe something like that. It wouldn't be fair. A person wouldn't win the election.
Yeah.
I would get into some math. I don't know if that's too hard for kindergarten. Or
what would happen if somebody put more than one vote in?
Yeah. Well, what about what would happen if people voted as a table? I'm trying to think of the fact that you were trying to get to them to say make up your own mind. In the real world, a ballot in an election is individual. You be quiet. If you talk, your ballot's not counted.
Yeah.
So I want to get them lead them to the fact that this is a private decision, and what happens if we made it a group decision?
Yeah.
So what would happen if we did a majority vote? No, we kind of did that. What would happen if the ballot was not private?
Yeah. What if everyone saw what you were doing?
What would happen if everyone saw your ballot and the election was not private?
Yeah.
And then what do you think some of the kids might say to that?
I think they might say something like, well, then people would vote just because their friends voted, or they might feel like they're pressured to put something on their ballot or something like that, maybe.
There might be too many ballots for one character because one person is the leader of the class and they wanted it or something.
Yeah.
So I think it's a better question than who uses a ballot box. It gets them to think about how it applies to their real world.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what did he tell the animals he was going to do for them? That was, I think, towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
So let's see how we can change it. What do you think? Which one would go good for that?
I feel like I want to use something similar, but maybe like tell me about what duck was, what duck's goal was, or
Tell me about why duck.
Yeah, tell me about why duck made promises to the animals or something like that.
That's really good. What do you think they might say to that?
Because they wanted. Duck wanted them to vote for him in the election.
Yeah, he wanted to really influence people through the campaign.
Yeah.
He wanted more ballots. They could use a lot of words.
Yes, that's true.
Even if they get really advanced, they could use the word furious. They want to make them furious and keep it fair.
Yeah.
Okay, this is awesome. It seems like you tell me about.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I do it too, tell me more. If the kid sort of seems confused, tell me more about that. And you always find out something you didn't know before.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more. What is this called? And you were alluding to the word campaign when they were doing the campaign in the book. So you obviously wanted them to know what the campaign is when you try to get people to vote for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I heard you you repeated that. Someone said something. You said, "Yeah, campaign is when you vote for how you get people to vote for you." So how can we reword that to get them to say, a campaign is when people vote? How you get people to vote?
Yeah.
That's your kind of plot.
Let's see. What?
Tell me about it again, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe tell me about.
How you convince.
Yeah, tell me about how you get people to vote for you. Maybe something like that.
Yeah. Tell me about how you get.
Or maybe even I just realized something that says
Okay.
in what way? In what way do you get people to vote for you?
Right. So you might talk to them. You might. In what way? I'll write that down there. I like that one because you're thinking more about. Are you going to put up posters? They can relate to maybe. Well, I remember when they were having an election. That one girl, her birthday's on election day. There's so many posters outside my house. Maybe that's how they try to get you to vote for them. Or it's on the news a lot. Or my mom talks about it. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what are they doing with their megaphones? That was another one to lead to campaign.
Yeah, and I wanted them to speeches.
Well, you could go.
I saw the one actually why do you suppose they're standing up on a platform and using microphones?
And what do you think the kids would say to that?
They're trying to get their attention. They're making speeches for their campaign.
Yep. So if the kid said they're standing up there to get my attention, to get people's attention, what would you say back?
I could say what is it? Tell me more about that. Tell me more about why are they getting their attention? What's the purpose?
Right. Well, they really want to win the election. So they use the word. Okay. So why do you suppose they're standing on what are they standing on?
On a platform, or I think it was maybe a soapbox or something like that.
Platform, and they kept using the word speech, especially when I was in here. So, and why are they standing up there and giving a speech?
Yeah.
Why do we just talk like that to people? We don't talk like that all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there was one more. What does a governor do?
Maybe I could do. Tell me more about the difference between a governor and president, or tell me more about
how governors and presidents are same. Because you did same and different for the text-to-text connections. How governors and presidents are the same and different. Yeah. So, obviously, you tell me about it. It's a good one to go for.
Yeah.
To go to. What would happen if, why, and you had a lot of why questions, but I feel like it's good to have these.
Yeah.
So I thought what we could do, I have these in my class for reading. I just thought it was a cute visual. I know you like Lakeshore, and they're really good ways to ask comprehension for stories. They're color-coded, so when you open it, What is the main problem? I think the blue ones are all fiction. There should be a key on here. Blue ones are all fiction. I think red are predictions. So it all goes with the skill you're working on. Yeah. Connections. Do the characters remind you of anyone you know? Explain. So these are just like a good go-to, but obviously we're not woodworkers, so we're not going to have question 6. So what we could do real quick is I sent you another pin. So there's the one that we just worked with, the what would happen if and tell me about. And then there's this other one, thick and thin questions. So thin questions are what's right there. Like you were saying, if you want them to use election, you're going to ask them, what is an election? Or, I'm sorry, what are the characters doing in the book? They're voting, they're having an election. It's just there's one answer. And then it kind of discourages the rest of the kids from participating. So you'd ask when, you'd ask where are the characters? Okay, there's only one place they are, so there's one answer. Who and then how many? So then these are other little questions then. So what if, like we said, what if everybody voted and everybody saw your ballot? What would happen? Or how did, whatever, why did this character do this? What would happen if? So I thought what we could do, a little artsy craftsy, before we kind of finish up, is I know you said you want to work on this. So what do you think about making some sticks now?
Yeah,
and you
that's
put
great.
them in a cup, and when you're reading a book, you just pick them out.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Because it's hard to plan all this stuff as a teacher.
Yeah.
So if you want, I'll do some, you do some.
Awesome.
Do you want them to be the same color, like the thick questions and the open-ended ones?
Yeah, I think like maybe, thick and open-ended could be the same, and then the same questions could be like a different color. Or no.
Well,
we're doing, I get what you're saying,
yeah. I mean, there is a purpose for thick
Yeah, but
questions.
I wouldn't need that to be on a stick.
You don't need that. Okay. So let's just do a little bit.
Okay,
so if you want, I'll do this one. If you want to do that one because it's open, I will do the stems from the other pin.
Okay.
Do you prefer a color? These are going to be yours, so I don't want to...
I'll do this pretty blue.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. So they pop out. They're open-ended. So many kids will be raising their hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be good. Maybe in a read aloud. How else do you think you might use these?
I think I would use it to read aloud, and definitely like when I'm teaching content too.
Right, open-ended.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. What would happen if... Okay. Should we just put them to the side? I don't see a cup anywhere.
Yeah, I'll find a little cup for him.
Okay. Do you have any more books coming up for this unit?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go back and doing some Black history because I haven't had a lot of time in February. So I'm going to go backtrack to that for content, and I've been doing Dr. Seuss too.
Okay, yeah, in your Dr. Seuss classroom.
Yeah, and Dr. Seuss actually worked well today. We read Green Eggs and Ham. And one of the kids, like, obviously the guy is, like, so tired of him asking him to get greetings to him, and one of my kids said, he looks so furious.
Get out.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was like, you're so right, he is so furious. He's so tired of him telling him to eat green eggs and ham.
Do they always get the tickets for using vocab?
Yeah, and I gave him a ticket for that, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I started doing that in my class with Ivy Barkbucks, and they love it. And I'll tell them, these are the words. It's not like if you just randomly say a big word. It's the target ones that we're looking at in social studies or science, and they love it. And they'll use it in conversation. You give them a bark buck.
Yeah.
So I guess, while we're making these, I only have 2 more. Okay, so that was my first target question. And then I wanted to ask you, how do you think making the objective about usage of target vocabulary words affect their achievement in the lesson?
So how do you feel making the objective about this? I mean, I feel like it helps them feel like just so much more comfortable with like using these vocabulary words because it can be like really intimidating for them, but like going over it and talking about it and like focusing on those words helps them feel like, oh, I know this stuff. Like I can use it. Like makes them just feel like it's so attainable.
Mm-hmm. So that they have a goal, they're going towards it.
Yeah.
Because what else did I say? These were all the good things. Yeah. That you making that the goal that so many more kids were using the words than even the first time that I was in here. So we talked about the open-ended questions, and then we kind of talked about this, but another area maybe to improve is like have the kids share responses. I know a kid might say something and it's like the natural habit to say exactly what they said and just kind of repeat it.
Yeah.
Even if there wasn't a grammatical error, but something that we do in first grade sometimes is say, you know, who can repeat what Michelle said?
Yeah.
And especially the kid says, I didn't know what they said. Well, who can tell me what they just said? And then they put it in their own words, and they're kind of modeling proper grammar and stuff like that. So putting it back on the kids would be good. And then we did the open-ended questions, and then I said maybe when they're voting, facilitate around the room and talk to them and ask them these open-ended questions about what their, you know, what their choice is, and I see you voted for Doug. Why did you vote for Doug? Or how do you think this ballot will affect the total? You know, just kind of probing them a little bit more.
That's a good idea.
While they're voting would be good, walking around the room. So I just said next steps, and you're done with those, right?
Yep.
So use these questions as you're doing stuff. You know, it doesn't, obviously no more planning. It's just right here. And then when you're planning a book reading or something like that, anytime you use how and why, you're just guaranteed to get an open-ended question.
Yeah.
So I thought those were really good go-to ones, but all of these are perfect. And you know, if you don't get to it, you don't get to plan the read aloud questions exactly, just pull one of these out and you'll think of something. As long as you have the target vocabulary words already introduced, the kids will know what to do.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit, but maybe plan possible student responses. What might they say, and then how am I going to get them there?
Yeah.
Whenever you ask the open-ended questions, you didn't really need to do that. You elaborated a lot. If you asked a why question, you asked another why question, and it just made it deeper. So I feel like you kind of got that down, and maybe these question sticks will help. We did the popsicle sticks, and that's really it. I mean, do you have any other thoughts or comments on the lesson, or like this whole experience?
It's been really great. Like, I really appreciate, questioning is always something I really wanted to work on, and this is awesome. And I like doing vocab too. It's like a really good strategy for me to implement that with teaching vocab before. Because before it was just kind of like, here's this word, here's what it means, let's, use it. But now it's like I have some really good strategic strategies that I can use now.
Exactly. Do you have any vocab words for the Black History Month that you guys are working on?
I do actually, yeah. And I have them. I already have a bunch of cards to print out, so now I feel like they're with these new strategies, they can really get these bigger words and understand them more.
Well, hopefully these will help you. Just pull them out, ask the question about one of the words, get them to answer that with the word, and you'll be good.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, I'm going to pause this. We are good. Yeah.